This is Harry Beck, and this is the map of the London Underground he designed in 1931, with the central London stations spread out and the distant suburban stations squished together, making it easier to read and prettier to look at than any map of the network that had come before. If you want to hear that sentence again, but with enough extra detail that it takes about 9 minutes, go back and watch part 1. But if you've already seen part 1, or you're a busy executive, or you correctly assume that you don't need to see part 1 to understand part 2, then here comes part 2, in which we discuss the impact Harry Beck's map has had over the decades, and whether or not in recent years the map has become a bit rubbish. The Tube map, as it came to be known, came to define London and change the way Londoners see their own city. Even if you weren't travelling by Underground, the Tube map was a useful way to familiarise and orient yourself.
What part of London are you in?
Chalk Farm.
On the Northern Line?
Yeah, you?
Wood Green?
Piccadilly Line.
That's right, so where should we do drinks? King's Cross or Leicester Square? Hey, are you up for that drink? Hey, how's it going in Chalk Farm? Hey! You know what, Doc, you're not even fit.
Perhaps more impressively, Beck's map didn't just change the way people see London, it actually literally changed London.
Have you, just like this century, reached your mid-30s? Then it's time to settle for suburbia. This patch of Middlesex countryside is fast becoming part of the London suburbs, thanks to the hard work of these handsome builders. Oh yes. These estates are conveniently served by new stations in Southcote, Oakwood and Fosters. There they are on the Tube map. See? They can't be that far from central London, now can they? Yes, £535 is rather a lot to pay for a semi-detached house, but it's worth it for the portable fireplace and fold-out whiskey warmer. So, become a suburbanite, and you can tell your friends and yourself that you still live in London. If it's on the Tube map, it counts as London, God save the King.
Harry Beck's Tube map had been such a rousing success in London that he thought he'd have a go at some other cities. Here's his version of Sydney's rail network, to which their response was,
"Oh, that's a bloody ripper! Thanks, fella!"
Although, curiously, Harry received no credit for this work, despite the garishly obvious similarities between the two designs. And then he had a go at the Paris Metro, to which their response was,
Absolument pas, c'est pas possible, ni de même qu'un sale anglais décide le plan de notre cher métro parisien, mais ça va pas la tête, non?
But Harry needn't have worried. London was keeping him more than busy enough. Over the decades, Harry designed dozens and dozens of different tube maps, making constant adjustments, experimenting with the spacing, angles, line thickness and connections in an obsessive effort to get his map just right. The Northern Line in particular drove him nuts. He drew piles of rough sketches, trying lots of different ways to show the complicated service patterns around Euston, Camden Town and Mornington Crescent. While Harry Beck was very good at designing tube maps, he was pretty rubbish at business. Harry was never rehired by London Transport. He was technically just a freelancer. For his first design, he was paid the paltry sum of 5 guineas, which in today's money is about £5.25. And he wasn't paid much more for any of his other designs. Worse still, despite the tube map's extremely wide distribution, Harry was never paid any royalties. No contract of any kind had ever been signed. There was an unofficial, unwritten understanding that any time London Transport needed an update to their map, Harry Beck would do it for them. And this arrangement worked fine for both sides until 1960. For the first time in 54 years, the construction of an entirely brand new underground line was announced. The Victoria Line was on its way, and to make room for it, the tube map would need a complete rejigging. This was a dream come true project for Harry Beck, but unfortunately, there was a new man in charge. To help launch the Victoria Line, London Transport brought in a new head of publicity, the relatively young and relatively inexperienced Harold Hutchinson. Hutchinson didn't like the unofficial arrangement London Transport had with Harry Beck. Actually, to put it more accurately, he didn't like Harry.
I consider Harry Beck to be a difficult man who's rather fretful and not easy to deal with. So in order to get control of our map back from him, I'm going to redesign the tube map with the Victoria Line update all by myself. How hard can it be?
In 1960, the updated map with a cover proudly boasting,
London's famous map has been given a
"new look" and
easier to read
was printed and sent to every station on the network. There is just so much to hate about this map. Why is it so jagged and pointy? Look at the mess in this bit. He's had to split Aldgate into Aldgate. Ugh. Trafalgar Square, Liverpool Why are some but not all stations in block capitals? Look at the Victoria Line. It's such an obviously crammed in afterthought. That's not how you do a tube map. When Beck saw the map, he was horrified. Not only because it was such a terrible job, but because it had been done behind his back. Hoping to put things right, Harry sent a polite letter to London Transport's former head of publicity, Christian Barman. Fascinatingly, all the letters back and forth between Beck and Barman have survived in the archives, but they're very long, so to summarise... Dear Mr. Barman, sorry to cause a fuss, but I thought we had an agreement that I designed your tube maps. Dear Mr. Beck, no we didn't. Dear Mr. Barman, but I spent ages working on a new design for the Victoria line, do you want it? That's how you add a new line to a tube map. Look at how simple and friendly it is. That's how good Harry Beck was. He makes it look so easy. And you know what? It takes looking at this one side by side with the really rubbish one to see how easy it wasn't. But this design, arguably Harry Beck's finest work, was never used. London Transport had made their mind up. Dear Mr. Beck, we've taken your criticism on board and replaced Mr. Hutchinson's design with a map that's much more like yours. Dear Mr. Barman, that's nice. Can I have my money now, please? Dear Mr. Beck, no. But it's my map. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it... This went on for 5 years. Beck claimed the 45-degree angles were his idea. London Transport claimed you can't copyright the idea of 45-degree angles. 45-degree angles have been around since the 1590s. In the end, Harry never did get round to suing London Transport. In 1965, both he and his wife had had enough stress and gave up fighting. London Transport removed Harry Beck's credit from all their maps, and any trace of his involvement disappeared.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the decades of hard work I gave you. You are the ungrateful corporation to my lifetime of loyal service.
Sadly, Harry Beck would never design a tube map for London Transport again. Sadlier, Harry Beck continued designing tube maps that he knew London Transport would never use for the amusement of only himself. Rejected by London Transport, Harry moved out of London to spend his old age in Hampshire. And in 1974, at the age of 72 and 7/25, Harry Beck died in relative obscurity. For decades after his death, the name Harry Beck was largely forgotten. The hero who designed the tube map and had an immeasurably huge impact on London was known only to massive tube nerds. But that started to change in 2001. On the 70th anniversary of Beck's original diagram, TfL's resident designer Alan Fole, a massive tube nerd and Harry Beck superfan, decided to restore Harry's credit to the tube map. And since then, every poster features Harry Beck's name in the bottom right corner where it belongs. Dozens of plaques have appeared in the houses and stations where Harry Beck used to live and get the train. And in 2006, the British public voted Harry Beck's tube map as their second favourite British design of the 20th century. The winner was Concorde, by the way, but where's Concorde now? Dead, that's where. Beck's map has gone on to be so influential, it's hard to imagine quite how mad and brave and clever it must have looked in 1933. The impact of his design has reached far beyond London. Pretty much every city in the world with any kind of transport network has a map with a colourful, schematic, non-geographic diagram that wouldn't exist without Harry Beck. With the notable exception of the New York subway, which insists on being as baffling and ugly as possible. So London can take pride in having got there first and shown the rest of the world how it's done. But in the last 90 years, London's tube map has become a lot busier. As well as new lines and stations appearing, our tube map has been gradually filling up with stuff that's not the tube. The Docklands Light Railway, the Tramlink, the Elizabeth Line, Thameslink, and in my opinion, most distractingly, the Overground, a series of mostly unconnected suburban lines, every single one of which is shown in the same shade of stripy orange. Hashtag split the Overground into different colours and names to make it easier to read on the map and less confusing for tourists and commuters alike, especially when it comes to temporary closures and delays. And that's not mentioning the river services, cable car, walking routes, IKEA stores, accessibility information, or fare zones. With all these additions, the modern tube map has become an untidy clutter. Good design standards seem to have dropped lately, with many of the decisions appearing almost provocatively incompetent, and would send Harry Beck rotating 45 degrees in his grave. Is the problem simply that the job is undoable? With more than twice as many stations since Beck's original design 90 years ago, has the network become too crowded to stick to Beck's principles of simplicity? Has London's transport network grown too large for a map of it to be both useful and beautiful? No! The internet has no shortage of stunning, elegant, easy-to-read alternative solutions, supplied on a near constant basis by eager tube map enthusiasts just like Harry Beck. Quite why TfL doesn't have the decency to even steal from them, let alone employ one of them as their designers, especially this one, is beyond me. Slightly controversial, but perhaps the tube map would do its job better if some information were removed from it. Do we need the trams? Do we need the river? Do we need the fare zones? Do we need the accessibility information? To be quite so blobby. Perhaps the question we should be asking is, do we still need the tube map at all? These days, you're more likely to plan your journey with an app than a map. So why does it matter if the map is a clutter? It matters because the tube map is so much more than just a useful journey planner. It represents London in every interpretation of that word. For visitors, it's the first thing you look at when you want to familiarise yourself with the city. For Londoners, it's the way the city looks in our brains. It creates order out of chaos, simplicity out of complexity. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say the tube map is the closest thing London has to a flag. Staring at the tube map should make you want to jump on a train and go exploring. And if it's well designed, cared about and done properly, that's exactly what it will continue to do for generations.
This definitely could have been a Mapman episode.
Here on the planet Spotten, we're too small to download Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN is an app and browser extension that virtually places your device in another spot in more than 100 countries across planet Earth. And if we were big enough, we'd use it straight away to access streaming services and discounts that aren't usually available on our planet. For example, if you've got a soft spot for The Walking Dead, but you're in Britain and it's not available on your Netflix, you can switch to a different spot in the USA and watch it on American Netflix. And we've managed to spot another advantage of using Surfshark. If you turn Surfshark on, your internet gets safer, because Surfshark masks your IP address and protects you and your data against advertisers and intergalactic space hackers. And Surfshark lets you use one account on an unlimited number of devices. But we're in a spot of bother. The nearest button for us to click on the link in the description below to download Surfshark is the equivalent of many millions of miles away and beyond the reach of our civilization, which is a nuisance because Surfshark are currently offering a whopping 85% off plus an extra 3 months for free. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, which effectively makes it a free trial. But unless my planet manages to get it together to build a spaceship big enough to fly the equivalent of millions of miles away and powerful enough to click the link in the description below between now and the 31st of December when this Black Friday offer ends, it looks like we'll have to miss out on all that wonderful enhanced security and international internet access. So, my advice to you is, if you're from a civilization for which clicking the link in the description below is a trivial matter of raising your finger up a bit and then down a bit by a couple of centimeters, then seize the opportunity and